Good morning and welcome to the 15-minute Chassidus Shir. Thank you everybody for joining. We're learning the Maim of Atetitzav Toshen Mem Aleph. And if you're following along inside, we're on page Daf Lamed Vov, halfway down the page in the first ois. The line begins Torah. And we're towards the end of the line at the square brackets. Just to recap for a moment what we've said so far in this ois, that is that the Friedrich Rebbe mentions that by Matan Torah, the Yidden accepted the Torah, they accepted upon themselves the Torah, they started the relationship with Hashem of Torah mitzvahs, and they concluded this relationship. They were Mekayim, this relationship, when by the Gzeirah of Achashverosh and Haman at Purim. And he asks, how could this be? It's a wonder. It's a pella. At the time of Matan Torah, the Yidden were up of an uplifted level, with a close relationship with Hashem, bonding with Hashem, and feeling that closeness. And at Purim, they were rejected, so it appeared, by Hashem on a low level. Like every Golus, they felt distant from Hashem. How could you say that now this really clinches the relationship? It was Kimu, this that they started before, or it was the Kabbalah on what they began before. How is this possible that the Torah can say this? Well, he said because the answer is that the time of the Gzeirah of Haman, the Yidden kept the Torah then with Mesiras Nefesh. And this is an unusual aspect of the Neshama. We'll see later in the Maimah that the Mesiras Nefesh comes from the Etzem of Neshama and intrinsic bond with Hashem, that's the Ma'ir of the Neshama. And that's brought out by the Yispashtus of the Moshe, the extension of the Moshe in every generation. Up to the square brackets. The noise of that the Mesiras Nefesh they had was on multiple levels. The first one was that they didn't deny Hashem. And if they would have denied Hashem, they would not have been part of the Gzeirah. That's how Haman set it up. He says, if you're Yehudi, as Mordechai was Mordechai Yehudi, if you are, then you're in the Gzeirah. If someone would have identified and said, no, I'm not a Yehudi, then they would not be part of the Gzeirah. And this is what the Alter Rebbe says in Torah Oyer when he speaks about Megillas Esther. So the square brackets, second square brackets, Ukimavur b'Torah Oyer, if they would have rebelled against their religion, then Haman would have done nothing to them. Nothing would have happened. They had an out. They had an escape hatch. They could have said, no, we don't identify as Yidden. Because but the Gzeirah was only on those who identified as Yidden. I'm Jewish, and I'm not exchanging that for anything. Also it never dawned upon them and never fell into their minds that they would do such a thing. They had a whole year that they could have jumped. The Gzeirah was going to take place on Purim. They had a whole year they could have said, no, we got to get out of this. There's nowhere to run, no other country, no other time. They said, we're going to say that we're not Yidden. Nobody even thought of it. It didn't fall into anybody's head at all. There wasn't such a machshava that would be the case. So that shows that steadfast determination and stubbornness of attachment to Hashem, stubbornness in a positive way, that I'm a Yid and that's all. That was number one, that they didn't give in. One level of Mesiras Nefesh. A second level, Hayel Mesiras Nefesh, Gam Al Kiyum Torah Mitzvahs. Also on doing Torah mitzvahs. It wasn't just that they're not going to not identify, but do nothing. They lived an active life of Torah mitzvahs. They kept Shabbos, they kept kashrus, they kept all the mitzvahs. So there was a positive living of Torah mitzvahs that they did, even though they were still under this gzeira. That's the second thing. A third thing, which is a greater level of Mesiras Nefesh, until they were gathered in large groups to learn Torah together, and that was with Mesiras Nefesh too. So you had multiple levels of Mesiras Nefesh, of steadfast determination and attachment to Hashem, not giving in to any external pressures. We're going to stay steadfast in serving Hashem. This was where it says they accepted upon themselves what they'd begun earlier. This was the Mekayim. They established what they had accepted upon themselves earlier by Matan Torah, because the spice of Mesiras Nefesh, the energy of Mesiras Nefesh, the attachment to Hashem in the front of all these difficulties was shining through. That what's my identity? I'm a Yid. How much am I a Yid? Every single part of me. There's no life without being identifying as a Yid, not hiding it, but identifying it, living it, and doing it publicly. This is how they acted then. Tremendous strength of character. How do they get the strength to do this? This was, as we said early in the Maimah, Moshe Rabbeinu was the Rosh. The Yidden are the Reglaim. Moshe is mashpiyah to the Yidden, the Emunas Hashem, helps bring out their Emunas Hashem as an active connection of the Yidden to Moshe, to Hashem. That this arousal from Mesiras Nefesh through Mordechai Yehudi, who was Moshe B'Doirei. He was the Moshe B'Doirei. And that's what it means. That the time of Matan Torah was only the beginning. And the time of Gzeras Haman, this was the Kabbalah, this was the acceptance. Why? Since then they had in actuality the Mesiras Nefesh for Torah mitzvahs. They were uplifted be'inyan zeh in this aspect. They were uplifted in this aspect of this revelation of the neshama to a higher level than they had when the giving of the Torah. That's why it's called the Kabbalah, the acceptance, and the Yidden accepted upon themselves this inyan, the inyan of the connection to Hashem of Torah mitzvahs, which was triggered and brought out from them by Mordechai, who was the Moshe Shabbat, who was the Rosh of the generation, to bring out from every Yid this inner aspect of the neshama. So this explains how the uniqueness that there was of Purim, even in contrast to Matan Torah. We're left though with the question, as it says, Kosus Lamor. Kosus Lamor, we explained earlier in the Maimah, means Kosus means crushed, Lamor to bring out the source of light, the essence of which in our terms in spiritual service to Hashem means the essence of the neshama. So Golus is the time when that happens, when the Yidden are pushed and they have to say, I'm attached to you, Hashem, in spite of all the difficulties. That koyach comes from the etzem of the neshama. So it would appear, and it would appear that that's what all you need. That there's something that's going on in Golus. Golus times the Yidden are crushed, and in order to stay attached to Hashem, and that helps bring out the etzem of the neshama. In the Maimah, though, the Frierdiker Rebbe says that first you had the avodah of Moshe, Shabbat Doirei, and then it says the inyan of Kosus Lamar. So here the Rebbe asks, what is necessary? Why is it in that order? What is added by having first the Moshe Rabbeinu's avodah, the Mordechai in his door, or the Espush, and then you have the Kosus L'Ma'or piece of the pasuk that says in the time of Golus that brings out the Yetzim. He asks in this last piece of this he asked the question. L'choyer yesh lema, shapirish b'Kosus L'Ma'or, when it says in the pasuk Kosus L'Ma'or, shalidei Kosus nishber v'nidke, that between crushed, meaning broken, and crushed, that's how the Yidden felt in Golus, is in Megim Lahama'ir, you reach the source of light. Who beer al zersha bezmana gzeira dafke boil mesiris nefesh beyof and nile. That would explain that at the time of the gzeira you come to mesiris nefesh on a higher level than other type of service to Hashem. That would be on all the different levels. That Golus would bring that out of a Yid. Ki Mesiris Nefesh u'mitzad etzem haneshama shalamayla megili, because Mesiris Nefesh comes from the essence of the neshama, which is higher than the revealed aspects of the neshama. Revealed aspects of the neshama means how somebody understands. It's your seichel, it's your feelings, the avas Hashem, yiras Hashem. It's the personality of the neshama. Each person would be a little bit different. The ma'ir, the etzem, is the essence, the essential identity of what a yid is. And that's the ma'ir. Shememenu nimtza ha'ir, then the source that the light comes from. So times of Golus, when the Yidden are on a lowly level, that would bring out that level. Val yedei shahaya oz b'matzav dekosis nishba v'nidke, nizgala etzem neshama ma'ir. And so when Yidden would be crushed in the time of Golus, lowly in this feeling, forced into the situation, that would bring out the etzem of the neshama. That would seem to be the pshat and the pasuk, and we mentioned before, kosis lamar, the times of Golus would bring out the etzem. Avol behem shofaseitin yonim bahamaimer. But the Friedrich Rebbe explains the order of the things he explains in his Maimer. Shapirish because is Lamar Bali Ahre Inyan Darai Mahemna comes after he explains the union of the faithful shepherd of the Rai Mahemna, the Moshe Shabbatayre, and here was Mordechai's mashma that the union causes Lamar Shayach Gam Lazeh Shemesha Zon Mafarnis is a Mona Shati Bipnimis. That also seems to be connected to that Moshe nourishes and sustains and brings out the emunah of a Yid. It should be in the pnimis. It should be internalized by the Yid. So it would appear that all you would need to have, this explanation of the Rai Mahemna bringing out the emunah Hashem should come in the pnimis, because he said that something like every Yid believes in Hashem, but it could stay makiv, it could stay not internalized in part of their life. And so the Moshe would bring this out in the Pnimius. That's the Aveda of the Rosh B'nai Yisrael, of the Moshe Shabbatayre. Mordechai helped the Yidden bring this out, and they had Mesiras Nefesh. So it would appear that Golus itself would bring that out. What's the connection to the Moshe Rabbeinu, and what's the order? That first the Friedrich Rebbe explains you need to have the Aveda of the Moshe Rabbeinu bringing out this emunah, bringing out the etzem of the neshama, and then it says Golus is when Yidden are broken and crushed. That's when they bring out the Mesiras Nefesh. So we're going to learn in the next ois in Mitzvah Shem that we have two sources of emunah that a Yid naturally believes in Hashem, and a beautiful explanation of what the neshama is. Thank you for joining. Hatzlocha Rabbah. And if anyone would like to sponsor a shir in honor of somebody or for a special occasion, please do so online at rabbiRabin.com. Have a great day.